Can I use water instead of coolant in my motorcycle? Have you ever found yourself in a pinch, wondering if you can just use water instead of coolant in your motorcycle? It's a common question among riders, especially when maintenance time rolls around. Let's break down the facts to help you make the best choice for your bike's cooling system. First off, water can be used temporarily in a motorcycle's cooling system, but it is not a good long-term solution. The main purpose of coolant is to maintain the engine's temperature and protect it from various conditions. Coolant is typically a 50-50 mix of water and antifreeze, which is usually either ethylene glycol or propylene glycol. Water does a great job of conducting heat away from the engine, which is essential for keeping it cool. However, coolant has several other important properties. It prevents freezing in cold weather, raises the boiling point to avoid overheating, and contains corrosion inhibitors. These inhibitors are vital for protecting the engine and radiator from rust and scale buildup. Using only water can lead to some serious issues. For starters, water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which means in cold weather, it can freeze inside the cooling system. This can cause damage like cracked engine blocks or radiators. Additionally, water boils at 112 degrees Fahrenheit, which is lower than coolant mixtures. This means your engine may overheat more easily if you are only using water. Another downside to using plain water is that it lacks those important corrosion inhibitors. Over time, this can lead to rust and scale buildup inside the cooling system, reducing efficiency and potentially damaging components. So, when might you use water? In an emergency or if coolant is not available, distilled water can be used temporarily to flush or fill the system. It is important to use distilled water because it lacks minerals that can cause deposits. However, you should replace it with proper coolant as soon as possible to ensure long-term protection. When performing a coolant flush or system maintenance, it is common to flush the system with distilled water to remove old coolant and contaminants before refilling with fresh coolant. This flushing process helps maintain the cooling system's health and performance. For practical advice, always use the coolant recommended by your motorcycle manufacturer. This is usually a 50-50 mix of antifreeze and water. If you must use water temporarily, make sure it is distilled water and replace it with proper coolant promptly. Regularly flushing and replacing coolant every couple of years helps prevent corrosion, overheating, and freezing issues. While water can conduct heat well, it lacks the protective qualities of coolant. Using only water risks freezing, overheating, and corrosion, which can lead to costly repairs. For maintenance, flushing with distilled water is part of the process, but always refill with the correct coolant mixture afterward.